Well, here we are, everyone. Might be a little bit of an echo there. Let me see. But hopefully everyone can hear me. And getting some live footage here from the A17 near Sleaford. So it's been a long time coming, but we've finally got some broadcast. As you would imagine, as we've got set up, the weather's changed. All that glorious sunshine that we had for the last few days is all gone. But nevertheless, we're out and about. So this being live stream number 1, we're just basically trying to get our eye in. Obviously, trying to find out what it's all about. And finally now we've got everything all linked up, all the equipment together. We're basically just trying to get it all together and trying to create something worth watching for all you guys. Has always been a live stream. We're always reliant on what's just going to come along the road, so it's obviously as much a surprise for all of you out there as it is for me. But historically during the week, along the road, this time of the day, there's the first decent acknowledgement. Mr. Knowles, over Wimbledon, I think, near King's Lynn. I should know because in a former life, when I'd mown trucks with my brother, we used to load out there. And I know they're a well-known haulier throughout the UK, and along with Ken Thomas at Wisbeach, I think Tony Knowles, if I'm right, has a bit of a historic collection of trucks. But as I say, when we used to load from there, they were fantastic. They really were. It was never a chore going there. We were always in and out really quick, polite. So as a customer, if you like, or a subcontractor, I've only got good things to say about it. To be honest, there's not many companies that I've had bad experiences with throughout the years. I haven't driven for an awful lot of companies, but I have over 30 years experience driving, running trucks, working in the office, picking rubbish, up round about the yards, you name it. I've pretty much done it to some extent. I'm not saying I've done it well, but I've certainly done it. He's another company that we see a lot of locally. George Kime. I have to say the footing where I am is probably not the best. It's a bit slippy, and the location's possibly not even the best. But I say this is basically just, as I said before, just to get a stream out there, see what it's all about. And then obviously the plan is that we being Entican Media, will be attending a lot of shows throughout the show season, both in the UK and and further afield, shall we say. So we'll leave it at that for the moment, because we live in an uncertain world. But certainly the plan is to not only attend a lot of the UK shows, but also to do some other things that you may not have seen before. Do a few interviews, speak to people, and give you the insight. To give you an idea where I come from, as I say, my opinion of the haulage industry, certainly in the UK, is that it's obviously gone under a big transition in the last few years. I don't particularly subscribe to the fact that there's a driver shortage. There certainly is a shortage of good drivers. There's a shortage of people that want to drive, and that's probably been better documented recently. During COVID and Brexit and everything else, when there was the huge food shortages and the toilet roll shortages and everything else that went on in that crazy period. Well, as you know, a lot of you within the industry will know, we did lose a lot of drivers back to Eastern Europe. There was obviously a lot of people due for retirement that when COVID came along, it was the final straw, and they said enough's enough, and they went off. A lot of people came out, when they were furloughed driving, they discovered there was other things to do. Nice Lancashire dairies trucker right there. He's a regular, that's the word we're after, down here. It's a nice looking rig. Jack Richards, of course, from Fakenham. Years ago, of course, that would all have been ERFs, big ERF fan, but Daft's now. I don't think they run anything else. I mean, it's part of Turner's now, isn't it? But I think it's pretty much all. But yeah, getting back to the driver shortage, I think that there's a load of drivers that don't want to drive due to the changes in the conditions. And I think what the industry's done is they've focused so much on the money, which is an obvious factor. But when you go to RDCs, delivery points, whatever, and you've been driving a couple hours, 3-4 hours maybe, to get somewhere, and you're kept waiting for another couple hours, drivers are only human, and they need a toilet break. And when you go to booking in Clark's and you ask to use the facilities and they're denied, which for a long time was quite regular and was a common thing. It was by no means uncommon. It's unacceptable to most people, and they go, well, why would I want to do this? Why would I want to be away from my family? Not knowing where I'm parking up, not knowing whether the load's going to be, the diesel's going to be there. And it's just the final straw, and people said, no, I've had enough. I'm going to go and do something else. So, as far as I'm concerned, you can't blame a lot of people for making that decision. It's not the lifestyle or the job it used to be. It's not the camaraderie, certainly on the roads. So, you know, respect to all the drivers out there, and that's as much what this channel's going to be. It's not just about the bling of the trucks. It's going to be as much about the industry, and we're going to try and focus throughout the weeks, months, years ahead. We're going to focus on the good, and we're going to try and promote the industry as much as we can. We'll have a shot at highlighting some of the negatives, and whether we get to change anything, you know, that remains to be seen. There's bigger people, certainly bigger media than us have tried and failed, but every little helps, as someone once said. Every little helps. Here's a nice livery coming, Froggets. I'm not exactly sure where they're from. I should know, but I don't. I mean, that's attractive coming up there. It's a bonny looking truck. Chesterfield, there we are. I had Great Yarmouth in my mind for some reason. No idea why. Great Yarmouth's not something most people should have in their mind, I don't know, but forgiveness to any residents or anyone in Great Yarmouth. I think the only times I think have delivered there a couple of times, but I think I went there for stock car racing or banger racing a few years ago. Not sure. But it's never done me any harm, Great Yarmouth. And quite the opposite, because occasionally we get some good Scottish hauliers coming down with loads for the oil rigs, I think. We get Grampian International, for example, and others. Other brands are available, but that's just one I saw earlier in the week. They come down with flatbeds with supplies for the oil industry, I think. Flashing lights with your man there, and you know, I'm still a truck driver. I'm third generation. Both my grandparents were involved with transport, which I'll go into in a later date. Late father was a panel beater, big Albion fan, and brother and myself still heavily involved in transport daily. And now my son and son-in-law also truck drivers up in Scotland. Shout out to them. Paul, son-in-law, he drives for Hayton Coulthart, and Colin, my son, he's not long started with Stuart Nicol up at Shotts. Both happy up there, so that's all good. Fair play to them, they're both enjoying it. And to be fair, although they've not both been at it for a long time, they're not doing it through the best months at the moment. You know, it's the dark months, not the best weather, and long nights and short days. So if they're enjoying it now, there's every chance. From what I hear, both companies have been good to them, fair to them. They've certainly got good tackle, and the work seems good, so it's good to hear. It's good to hear. Not just as a father or a father-in-law, but also you know, if you're interested in transport, you want to hear good things about transport companies. You know, you don't want to be hearing negative things. It's enough negativity in the world. So it's always good to hear positive things about hauliers. Is this coming along Hewick's haulage, is it? Oh, no. Oh, Sleaford, it's a local. Sleaford Quality Foods. Another local one. It's another company I've seen a lot going about for years. I guess it says pretty much on the tin what they do, but I don't know an awful lot about them. A little Biffa skip lorry going about. It's obviously a Biffa depot about here somewhere. But it's a bit later in the day, so light's not the greatest, and not quite sure what we're going to see or what we're going to miss or whatever. But the one thing you can say about the A17, it's certainly busy enough. Even in January, that we're in now, the tail end of January, I'm led to believe, like everything else, you know, work's dropped off a bit after the Christmas rush. So there's not so much fridges going about, but there's always trucks going about. Always. So. And said that, we've got a bit of a lull now in regards to truck action, which is always going to happen. So I don't know if any of you are into aviation, you know, whether you're transport enthusiasts per se, but there's a YouTube channel called Big Jet TV which went sort of viral with Storm Eunice, I think it was. Basically, is a chap who films all around the world now, and he gets the planes coming in, landing at Heathrow and all the storms. It gets a bit hairy. It's good entertainment and it's great, but the good thing about his model is that, you know, he can see the trains, he can see the planes come in on flight radar, so not only can he see what's coming in, but obviously at Heathrow, you know, it's fairly constant, so he's got material all the time, whereas obviously out on the road you are subject to what's coming along. So sometimes you're going to win, and other days there's going to be a lot of filling and a lot of filming in fields like this. But let me see, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but basically the idea of this stream was just for me to get used to the camera, to make sure that we can go live, and a little bit of practicing. Again, we'll go into it later on through time, somewhere a little bit more glamorous, a little warmer, and on another day, but I do have a background in shooting video, not necessarily commentating or putting any narration over, and I'm certainly no whiz kid in setting it up, and at the moment I'm just trying to stay in my feet because I'm on grass. It's a bit slippy because it's been dry. Just had a bit of rain in the last hour or so. It's a bit greasy and I don't want to be falling. So I'm just concentrating on trying to keep upright at the moment. But what have we got there? Pilgrim. Nice. See, the good thing, I mean, as well as getting you out in the fresh air, and if you're interested in trucks, you're interested in trucks, you know? But I've been doing this many years, and whether you're out taking stills or whether you're shooting video, you know, just for video footage, or whether we're doing this a live stream, which again is folded. It's a bit like fishing. You go out and you never know what you're going to catch. So there is always that unpredictability about it. Maybe that's part of the attraction, but it's certainly a distraction from all other things that go on in the world. And let's face it, there's certainly been enough going on in the world over the last couple of years. Citra. It's probably on remake the tripod. He's probably off the Midlands. Asda's there, just had his break. My sons pull these and say that they follow okay. They look a bit uncouth to me, to be honest. I must admit, I much prefer the old single deck box van or a fridge, you know, something like that. But by all accounts, they go alright, they pull okay, and wherever you go they seem to follow you, so that's always a good sign with a trailer. I don't know if any of you had any experience pulling the extra length trailers either. Never had one behind me. Again, Colin, my son, he pulls one. Straight into it pretty much from day one, so fair play to him. But again, with the steering axle and everything on it, they all seem to pull well. And obviously there's millions pounds worth of euros of development going to get you the same sort of turning circle for the roundabouts and everything. It's probably something, to be honest, I would like to have a go at. Do a nice easy trip with one and then hand it back to say, there you are, we've done it. It's Kalina, Brian Rust pair there from Kings Lynn. And they're Kings Lynn bound. For anyone that doesn't know the road, that direction that these chaps are going here, that's eastbound towards Kings Lynn, and Halder's Scania coming towards us. He's heading westbound back towards Newark. And I'm not entirely sure where they're based. I've been past the yard. It's up along the M16 or the A18, something like that, I think. Not quite sure what Matey Boy's doing with the four ways on here. It's a new DAF XG. I can't say I'm a big fan of those. I currently drive one, and it's not been the best. It has not been the best. mean, I think most of the trucks now are very, very similar. I know, people have their own badges, there's a big following of the Scania V8, because them boys are obviously never late, etc, etc. But I think when you jump into most trucks now, they're all pretty much of a muchness, and certainly the new DAFs have more than a passing resemblance to the Scanias, even to the extent when you open the grille on the new DAFs, you've got to open the quarter panels as well to get into the fluids and everything. But as I say, the first truck I had, certainly the first truck I drove brand new was a DAF. It was an 85 series back in the day. Back in the day. That was the first new one I had. Driven some other stuff about then as well. 113s and 2s and Ford D series, etc. But pretty much I've always been I wouldn't say a DAF fan, but I've had certainly would lean towards the DAF. Right up to the 106s. If you were away for any length of time, which without going into too much at the minute, for me has certainly involved being away in the truck more months than weeks or days recently, shall we say. Swains of Rochester were rigids. See them up this way too much, or I haven't anyway. I think they've got a depot at Manchester as well, possible. But don't often see the rigids. These belongs to Leeds. We've seen a few of these up this road this week. Whitvers. Whether they're heading across to the east coast or whatever, I'm not sure. But I've seen a few of them. Big fleet in the EU, and regular visits to the UK. And all have seen them. But yeah, getting back to DAFs, not to go too much into transport politics, if you like, but yeah, for me it's the new XG at the moment is certainly a backward step. I'm sure they'll get it right, but at the moment, if you've got an XG and you've got a good one, I think you're in the minority. Certainly the lads and the lasses that I've spoke to, more lads than I, certainly, but Hughes from Ireland, Portadown, am I right, or Armagh possibly. Names, probably a potato bulker maybe, is it? It's another company I don't know an awful lot about, Nains. Probably been around for years, but they've just only come onto my radar in the last few years. They run some good tackle. I say, don't know anything or much about the company, but certainly got a smart looking fleet. And you'd like to think they look after their staff. It's okay having smart trucks, but you need smart drivers as well. quite hard to identify some of the trucks at the moment with all the salt that's on the road. Like everywhere else, it's been really frosty. Last night I had to go for a drive somewhere yesterday evening, and the roads were horrific. As soon as you were cleaning the windscreen, they were dirty again, and obviously the headlamps as well, they get covered up in salt, which makes them less efficient or less bright. Just everything's a bit of a struggle, isn't it? But it'll soon pass, and hopefully soon the lighter nights will be here, the warmer weather, and we'll all be basking in lovely British sunshine, he says sarcastically. But certainly the memory goes back to last summer. We had 40 degrees, didn't we? You know, so certainly warm enough, hot enough. Not sure what the volume's like. I've got a little mic here on the collar. I forget the name of it now. Chevalier mic, I think they call them. Which are ironically bang on cue. It was almost spooky. It managed to unclip itself, hence all the crack on there. So apologies for that. As I say, we will have another mic which goes on to the hot shoe of the camera. Whether that's going to work out, or whether this is the best option, not entirely sure at the minute. To be fair, that's quite a smart looking V8 there, whoever that was. Too busy clipping my mic on to catch who it was. Biffa's skips again. The thing is, we're an equal an equal opportunity film crew here, because regardless of whether you're driving a Scania V8 with all the bling and all the tang, or whether you drive a skip truck for Biffa or Mountains or anyone else, you're welcome, and we'll film you. And it's, you know, it's not to try and catch anyone out. It's not to, you know, it's for entertainment purposes for you, the viewers, for me, and as I say, it's to try and showcase what's good, you know. So if you see us out and about, give us a wave. Legally, of course. You know, just lift a finger. Don't be rude. But, yeah, don't get yourself into trouble. But, yeah, give us an acknowledgement. And, you know, we appreciate it. It looks good on the camera, obviously. But, you know, it's a mutual acknowledgement. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you know, everyone's not too favourable, which you're not going to please everyone all the time. It's without going too much into it, you know, it's fairly obvious although there is, especially at the moment, quite a lot of speed camera activity on this road. So there's a lot of speed vans and people standing out watching speeds and things like that. So, you know, I'm a truck driver myself, I get it. Someone's standing at the side of the road with a tripod, your first reaction is, hang on a minute. But, you know, when you get close, I'll generally give you a wave. Which, you know, should give the game away that all's well. And certainly on the road here, I tend to try and visit the same spots, same locations. Mainly so a lot of the regulars up and down the road get used to it and they're not spooked. You can't really see at the moment, but you know, I'm quite well off the road. I'm not standing on the side of the road. You know, it's not too far for me to travel here. So again, with it just being the first stream, not sure how long we're going to be running for. I initially came out for about an hour, but it's all depending on light, what's coming along, etc. Whether I manage to trip over the tripod again, which is doing its best. Committed a professional foul on me there. Tumblers with a tanker. Again, it was all coming out with the lights a little bit darker, so it was all about trying to see how the camera performed in lower light. Obviously, I know that how well it performs in sunshine and when there's plenty of light, so that's all good. But there we are, another local, JL Priestley. Like their MANs, the one I saw earlier in the week was pulling a container, which I didn't know that, hadn't noticed that they did any container work really. And I'd seen them going about quite a lot again and never really knew where they came from, so I looked on the website and it all became clear. So it's another nice colour scheme. Robert Croft, Driffield, up in Yorkshire. Again, I fully understand the reason for the plain white trucks. A lot of them are spot rentals, etc., etc. You know, I get it, but common sense would tell you, if you're a haulier and you've got an eye-catching livery, you know, it's a brand after all, same as everything else. So, you know, for me, if you're just running a fleet of plain white trucks, you're probably missing out on a trick. But there we are. Everybody runs their business their own way. Looking van there, intrigued is what I was up to. Let's use the word intrigued. Mercedes, another regular. Quite often see this Mercedes and Bulker on the road here. I'm not sure if it's a different driver or whether it's even the same truck or a duplicate truck. There we are. McCann's. Nice. Get a lot of livestock trucks up this way. Surprisingly enough. Well, it's surprising to me because I associate this area with vegetables and fruit and fridge work, etc., etc. But there is certainly one big meat processing factory, and which is where the livestock trucks may be heading, may not, who knows. But certainly see enough of them up and down the road. So I know there's a lot of people follow livestock trucks. So it's another company, Clayton Lenton, Boston. You see quite a few trucks in at least another 2 liveries. They have some green trucks and they have some white trucks just with some graphics on it. But the one thing about this road is you can always be sure you're never too far away from Turner's coming around the corner. You've obviously got Spalding and you've got Bicker, not too far away from here. And then you've got all the guys from further down Felix Stowe and so on. I think at the moment when there's nothing happening here, I think this is probably the best spot to be picking them up. In the distance, sort of over there, I think you can see the sign. That's the way. That's basically holding them round about Sleaford. So I've got quite a big sweeping bend there. So I get a bit of warning of what's coming. You can see them, whereas behind me they do sort of creep up when you don't get much warning. And with the way this tripod's behaving at the moment, where he's fouling, I don't trust him too much. But yeah. That's Cooper's Tanker Services from Wisbech. To review that one back later. I think that was maybe a subcontractor, but we see their trucks up and down here. The familiar white and green livery. Again, they're always very smart, smartly presented. Turner's driver giving us a wave there. Let's hope that behaviour catches on. We could do with some more of that. Sometimes I think they've got Velcro gloves on and they're stuck to the steering wheel. So I know fine well that some of these fleets have the dreaded internal cameras, and if you lift your hands off and you do this and you do that, you get penalised and whatever. So we're not into getting anyone into trouble, but it's always nice to get acknowledged on the road. It's one of Chris Ely's fridges heading back towards Spalding area. Did some casual work for Chris Ely many years ago, back in the 90s I think it was. Well, it was, but I couldn't tell you exact year. It was one of those occasions where another day, another place, I would probably have gone down that avenue because it was good work, good trucks, fair money. There's nothing not to like. But we went a different avenue. Morris Hill. Trusty flatbed. Possibly been delivering some steel or some machinery of some sort, who knows. Don't get too much timber or anything like that down this way. Do get it, but in fact, you don't see too many flatbed trucks either, really. I mean, certainly see more than you would in Europe. I mean, it's almost unheard of in Europe now. It's one of Nolan's. Yeah. You never know what you're going to see with Nolan, that's for sure. And say we always try and say positive things about Fleet. So Priestley's another top liner. So Sid Dennis. I couldn't really see, but I would imagine that's the Sid Dennis from Skegness, a scrap metal dealer. I mean, I'm guessing that. It's by no means definite, but the only Sid Dennis I know would be at Skegness way. And the only reason I know him is when my dad was alive, him and my uncle used to call in there and buy spares when they were building trailers and converting things, and you're talking about back in the, well, I would say the late 80s probably. Could be wrong, but I would imagine it would be back in the 80s. And my uncle farmed near Boston in Lincolnshire, but they also run a small fleet of trucks, like a lot of farms in Lincolnshire. They have an odd truck, for carting grain away at harvest time, or moving bales, or I think they had a low loader for moving some track diggers around the farms and various bits and pieces, but it was quite a common thing. And I remember my father and uncle, and they converted a low loader to move a combine. And this is long before it was a common sight to have the fold-down extensions, so that you could drive the combine on. You didn't have to take the wheels off and things like that. You obviously still had to take the bed off the front, but you could leave the wheels on and it overhung, and it travelled like that. So they were sort of the right idea. I mean, I'm not saying they started it. There was maybe someone else that they pinched the idea off, but they were certainly in there at the start. And as you say, probably some of the metal work and bits and pieces probably come from at Dennis up at Skeggy. The light's fading a little bit, and we're getting on in time now. I'll probably give it a little while longer. As I say, it's an absolute certainty that as soon as I put the equipment away, pack it up and turn the ignition key, something will come around the corner. It happens every time, almost every time. Or when you're back in and you're driving home or driving back to your hotel or whatever's going on, you'll meet something on the road and think, why didn't I just stay 5 minutes longer? And then remind yourself, it's only a hobby and there's always tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. But as I say, it's like the fishermen. Always after that big fish, and when you come home without it, you think that there'll never be another chance again, which of course isn't the case. A load of gas bottles on the back of that. It's all safe and secure and safe hands, but it's not a load I would like having behind me, I don't think. Maybe all empty, but presumably they were all full at some point. But, I did do my ADR years ago. I used to have a job when it was the old Hascam. It was probably been, I don't know, 20 years of upgrades and renewals and role changes, and it's lapsed long ago, but I used to regret not taking my tankers. I took packages, and I forget what classes I had now, I couldn't tell you, but at the time I remember that some of my mates that were on the course, they paid some extra money themselves and did the tanker modules, and I always regretted it, just because it was the one chance I had of doing it, I guess. But I've never really had the need to drive tanker, so I didn't miss out on it. It's now George Kimes Richards Road. So understandably, things are starting to thin out a little bit now. Any of the trampers are probably looking at finishing their days, finding somewhere to park up. Chaps like this, local, been away for the day, done all their deliveries. They're getting back to their depots. They drop off their empties or load up for the morning or hand it over to a night guy or do whatever they do. But as I say, just when you think you're packing up. a pile of trucks comes along, and it's not that you'll never see them again, it's just if you're out doing a live stream and you're out to film trucks, you want to try and keep some continuity. So you don't want to be filming a lot of empty roads like that. And killing time, really. So we'll give it a few more minutes, because as you can see, a lot of the headlights, driving lamps, whatever you want to call them nowadays, they're all coming on. The lights dropping. It has been a bit darker locally here in Lincolnshire today. The last few days have been, but there's not been a cloud in the sky. If the temperature had been warmer, you would have swore it was, looking at the sky, you would have swore it was the middle of the summer, but it never really got much above freezing. And certainly at night, it was a hard frost, which you obviously get with the clear skies. For January, we shouldn't complain. And see, just while it's a bit quiet, and because it's the first stream, probably feature this in a few future streams as well, and mention it certainly. But as I say, the plan is this year to cover a few locations, shall we say, in Europe that you wouldn't normally see on live streams. You know, there's just a whole wealth of live streams on YouTube now, and a lot of it's superb. You know, a lot of it's great. I enjoy watching a lot of it myself, but a lot of it's the same repetitive stuff. So, you know, I'm not dissing anyone. As I say, I enjoy watching a lot of the channels, but I don't think there's any point in us doing the same as what everyone else is doing. Mainly because everyone else is doing an admirable job. It's great stuff. So we're going to leave everyone pretty much to get on with what they're doing, and we're going to do something similar, but a lot different. And hopefully we're going to create a lot of content that you guys want to see. Something that's interesting. Hopefully it's all going to be positive, because at the end of the day, as amateur as this is, it's all with the view being entertaining. You know, that's the whole idea, is that people are going to tune in for a little while, check it out for a little while, enjoy it, and hopefully come back. That's what we want. We want you guys to keep coming back and seeing the different locations that we're going to visit. You know, the different content that we're going to be shooting, which I can assure you is going to be very different from what we're looking at the minute. And hopefully a lot of it will be a bit warmer as well. Certainly as the year goes on. I need to try and discover some gloves that allow me to operate the camera whilst keeping the colour in my hands so they don't go blue. But all in time, all in time. Let's see, we have another 2 or 3 trucks coming. There's a tanker and a top liner behind them, and then there's one coming up through the lay-by, and then an MAN there, Wincanton. That looks like a new livery for Wincanton there for me. And another one of Richard Garns from Spalding. For any of you that have followed the trucks for a while, you'll know that Garns used to have an attractive, I think it's sort of maroon and grey colour scheme, and all the trucks were named like Spalding Kestrel or Spalding Kittiwake or things like that from memory. Transport. What's that? Potato bulker or sugar beet? Who knows? I don't know. Something like that. Caught that one a bit late. That's the problem with these new trucks as well. They're so quiet if you've got your back to them. They catch you out. I think I can see another one, just another 2 actually. One of them's looks like, yeah, it is Tony Knowles, or Knowles Transport anyway. So I think we'll, well, there's another one behind Knowles as well. So again, you know, you just think you're going to be packing up and heading away, and then along they come. But what we'll do is we'll catch Mr. Knowles here and the one behind him, and then I think we'll wrap this one up. So to anyone that's watching live, who's tuned in, thanks for tuning in. We welcome your feedback. There probably will be less and less commentary on the follow-up videos. Mostly because I'm just trying to get levels for the volume. As well as everything else with the camera. Mr. John Pocklington's, another local fleet here. Nice to see them about. So as I pan back round to east side, shall we call it? make it trendy for the kids, east side and west side. And, it's an Amazon subby or an Amazon truck. I think that's a subby, isn't it? 7.5 tonner. And then I think this yodel, it's falling up at the back. I think that'll do us. So the final credits today, as it turns out, will be going to Hunter Pack. But there we are, we'll stay on him. And again, thanks to everyone that's watched. And hopefully we'll do this all again soon. Until then, everybody, bye-bye.